Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the WOW Podcast. I am your host, Jaquell, and we are focusing on always health, body, mind, and spirit. Specifically for this podcast, we are now gravitating towards a more sensitive topic. We work out physically all the time. We talk about spiritual, our well being in God. And then also now we're going to touch on a very more sensitive subject, which is mental health, specifically grieving and how that affects your mental health. So, walk this journey with me, walk on this process with me so that we're able to understand how we are able to function, understanding the different types of grieving, understanding where we are, understanding that it's okay to be feeling and validate your feelings. But most importantly, let's find resolutions. Let's find support that is needed. I am a strong person that will advocate, empower, but most importantly, educate you at all costs so that you're not all the ways out here in the slumps. You're not out here by yourself because you're not fighting this battle by yourself. All right? So let's just jump right into it. We're going to focus on grieving and this grieving journey that we're all facing. What is the most important things about grieving? Grieving is a universal experience. So at some point in our lives, we may not look the same, we may have different ages, different diverse backgrounds, but grieving does not say because you are African American, I'm only going to target you. Because you are of a Hispanic background, I'm only going to target you. Grieving says this is universal. Any and everyone can get it. It does not discriminate even with ages. That's why children are affected with this as well. So, as we begin to understand about grieving, there is another component that comes with that, which is your mental and your well being. You always hear people bring up situations like people don't grieve healthy. They tend to go into different tunnels, as we refer to that way. And then when it comes to that, now we're stuck in a hole of trying to have them gravitate to getting out of this long tunnel that they've been in. So how do we do that? There's a connection with grief and mental health. There's disorders, right? Some of us go through what's called depression. Some go through anxiety. Some go through what's called PTSD, right? Um, Many go through various stages, and it causes them to feel like they're isolated, that they're alone, and that there's nothing else that will benefit them because no one understands. This podcast is to allow you to open up and realize that you're not fighting this by yourself. I'll say that once again. I think sometimes as a culture, we need to understand that we're not limited to resources. There's so many resources out there. There is so much support that we can give. All right. So I just want to touch on a few things here so you can understand more about me, and as we take this grieving journey process together, there will be so many more things that will unfold. You might see me cry sometimes. I got some tissue here. You might, and as I bring on guests, you might even hear them share their stories. This space here is safe. You are safe, and I am safe. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to get through so many obstacles ahead. If you understand that even the surrounding areas, you have to feel safe. So, a few things that I would just want to touch on is what is grief, right? Grief is an emotional, cognitive, physical, and behavioral reactions to the loss of someone or something. So it doesn't just affect human, it's also when people lose their animals. We go through this emotional, cognitive, physical, behavioral experience. The problem that most people feel is that it's just limited to death. It's not just limited to death. It's also limited to relationships, loss of jobs, your health, your identity. So many factors can put you in this state of mind, this state of being. And there are so many different stages of grief that I just want to kind of touch bases on so you can kind of understand why we are focusing on your mental health, your well being, so that you can be better. The stages of grief, there's denial, there's anger, there's bargaining, there's depression, and then there's acceptance. Where do you find yourself? I'm going to pause right there. Sometimes you can be experiencing more than one at one time. Sometimes you can be dealing with this in a situation, and I want to be very transparent as we're talking about this right now. For many that don't know, I recently lost my husband. October 21st, 2024 would never be the same for me and our child. My husband was not only shot, but he was shot and killed. I immediately went through shock, a denial, thinking that he's going to answer the phone. I immediately went through, okay, when he get off work, he's going to come home tonight. This is the usual standard, our usual routine, things of that nature. I went through anger and frustration because I kept saying that night, honey, just come straight home. Oh, I got to go make a few runs. I'll be home later on tonight. And him and our son had a play date that, they have Legos. So he had these Legos and he was getting ready to go set them up in a room, and they had FaceTime and all of that good stuff. And I was so frustrated because I felt like almost as if you're bargaining. That's the next one, that the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. What if I have all this guilt because maybe I didn't do this enough, or maybe I didn't do that enough, or did I tell him I love him enough on the last time we saw each other? We saw each other on 10/20. Did I tell him enough? Right? There's a guilt piece that goes with that. There's depression. There's a deepness. There's a sadness. There's the withdrawal of wanting to be around people and want to be lonesome by yourself. I didn't want to get up out the bed. There's so many days I did not want to get up. There's so many days. And even when they try to trigger now, I still find myself having to fight that because it will sweep and slide through and you're not even paying attention. Next minute you go through this lonely walk and you're feeling isolated. The acceptance. Not too long ago, maybe about a few weeks ago, I just really had to accept, like, okay, he's not coming back. He's not going to answer the phone. He's not going to respond to the text messages. There's no point of me taking our son, for their routine, visiting him at work, or him, slipping in or coming home at a certain time to help and grab dinner before he go back or doing. I had to accept in the reality that he's not coming back. And it put me in a place of even accepting, and it almost went like put me back in a stage of losing my father all over again, because my father to me was like my best friend, my husband, my best friend. And all those triggers, all of those reactions, all of those moments put me in a state of, Jaquell, what are we going to do? How are you going to overcome this? How are you going to do this? How are you going to face every day? How are you going to face the time? You call the detectives, they don't call you back. You're looking for support. What actual support do you need? You're feeling guilty because in your mind, like, why did this have to happen to me? Did I say I love you enough? We had no ill, bitter feelings towards each other. Never a separation. Never nothing of that. No negativity. When my husband stepped through the door, was nothing but peace in that house. But to lose someone abruptly, it hits different. To lose someone, some people lose their loved ones or friends, families, or different ones from cancer, from car accidents, from various things that we're not even knowledge of. Someone go to the hospital, but they never come back out. And it leaves us with a lot of unanswered questions. So we ask ourselves a lot of these things, and we go through these processes like, how do I get out of this? How do I know that this is not my fault? Because mind games happen with grief. You put yourself in a place, and then, like I said, when the guilt comes, now the mind start playing tricks on you. You start wondering why. Why did this have to happen to me? Our child is 4 years old. And even up to today, every day he asks about his father. Every day. Because they had a routine every day. Every day, every morning, my son still gets up and sings his song to his father. And he stands there in the mirror playing as if he's reciprocating the song that my husband used to sing to him. You Are My Sunshine is what he sung to our son. And my son had a made up song, I Love You, Daddy. Hey, it worked for them, right? Throughout the day. And sometimes he'll say, like, man, I miss Daddy. I want to talk to him. Or, Mom, we can't call him. Can I? He'll ask me for my phone because he want to look at some of those pictures that they had. Every moment was precious to our son to spend quality time with his father and his mother. And what does grieving look like for our youth that are that young? As a parent, I have to separate myself. Like, I can empathize and sympathize because I lost my father as a child. My father did not pass away the same way, though. So I know that there's going to be more questions as he get of age that he will probably want to understand, why did someone take his father's life? So that's a little bit more about me. But I wanted to let you know how transparent and how open I'm going to be in these sessions. So another thing that I just want to bring up is about the importance of mental health. When you have grief, depression is one of the most ones that come up first, right? And it is a strong mental health. It's a deep sadness, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, loss of daily routines. Um, Sometimes you don't even have appetite because your mind is like, where do I go? What do I do? And we're still in that I'm trying to overcome, but you know what? I don't feel like getting out the bed today. You lose a lot of energy because what's surrounding around you is the loneliness. What's surrounding around you is the emptiness. What's surrounding around you is you feel like you're getting closed in. You feel like there's no other support. You're feeling like the person that you love the most walked out the door and there was never a return. And depression will allow you to sit there, and it'll just sit there and sit there. And it also becomes like a physical weight of, you ever had those really good heavy blankets when you put it on you? And I think they even have like some weighted blankets, like they're really called weighted blankets. And those weighted blankets come, and it helps you go to sleep. It snuggles you. But when depression comes, it sits there and it's heavy. And when it sits there, it's not only affecting you, but now those that are around you. It affects your job. So because of what you're dealing with, you're not able to function at work, not to the full capacity that you actually could before or prior to the incident. When you were at home, you was always chippery, you're always laughing, you're always smiling. All of those behaviorals and those mannerisms start shifting and changing. And to some people, depression can affect them to the point where they don't get out the bed, they don't take care of their hygiene, they don't do anything because they're in this desolate state. We want to help you. We want to help you get to a point to where you can recognize, and even if you can't recognize it at first, those that are your support system, those are people that you can possibly call, family, close friends, and we'll even post phone numbers of supportive groups, hotlines to help you, because depression is a slithering snake, I like to identify it as, that is trying to coil its way around you and suffocate you so that you cannot do what you need to do. You can't push forward because it's slowly surrounding itself around you. until it gets all the way to the point where you can't breathe. Anxiety is another one. Anxiety now brings the fear and worry, right? Anxiety tried to affect me and everyone that was around me. Where you going? Where you going? How you going to get there? How you going to get there? Because immediately I started feeling the fear of, because my husband was, doing what he was doing, going, taking care of business. And next minute, my husband shot and killed. Oh Lord, this can happen to my son. Oh Lord, this can happen to my sister. Oh Lord, this. I wanted to know where everybody was going, and that can be overwhelming. How was that overwhelming? Because you don't sleep. You're on paranoia. You're at a point of thinking that every time you turn around, something bad is going to happen. Depression and anxiety can be best of friends too, if we really want to call a thing a thing. If I really be, and I want to be very respectful when I say this, because I don't want people to interpret it the wrong way, but I have to say it this way. Yes, Jaquell go to church, but I didn't want to pray to God. I didn't want to talk to God because I was in my feelings about all the things that were happening to me. Everybody said, well, go pray about it. Go sit down. God gonna take care of it. I'm upset right now. I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to talk to Jesus, tell him all about your problems. I didn't want to hear those songs at that time because I was trying to understand from God, why is he no longer here? I only had 6 years with this man, God. Why did you take him from me? I was upset. And people say, you can't be angry, God. Since y'all want to pull on the word, he said, be angry, but sin not. So I had some questions. And I wanted to talk to God about these things on a real level. Not it's always been this. No. Lord, I need some clarity. I need some things because your girl is feeling this way. Your girl is upset. Your girl is mad. And when you lose someone, you start seeing people for who they really are. Your support system that was like this is shrinking to where now you are able to count the numbers on one hand, who really has your back, who really is supporting you and your lineage that you have created, who is really going to be there for you. It's uncomfortable. I was not only in a place of when I got myself together and I was like, okay, God, we need to have these conversations. I also sought a therapist. Every person needs somebody to really give it all to, right? But I needed someone who is sound wise, who has not only the credentials, because see, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your family, but something about a therapist, a counselor, they're going to go above of the surface level and we're going to get to some deep rooted things. And I was able to not only talk to God, but let me talk to a therapist. I've learned that is an issue, especially with people of color, our culture. We just want to just Jesus, 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 Jesus all day. That's fine. But who else are you going to deal with outside of when you leave the altar? Because you can't stay at church all night. You can't call your pastor every single day. Yes, I pray to God for myself, but also who else is that person that's going to give me some strategies, some tools that I can go back to and take home and go and work on some other things outside of my prayer, outside of me reading the scripture. Then once again, I'm saying this respectfully because there's nothing wrong with people doing what? Going to God in prayer. I concur that. But we got to stop the go to God in prayer and what goes in my house stays in my house. Go to God in prayer and you can't cry. You shouldn't be crying. You shouldn't be shedding a tear. You got to be strong. Man up. And our black men are dying. We can't keep telling people what we think they should do based on what society has taught us, our culture has showed us, because that mental health is affected. We need to verbalize what we're dealing, what we're facing, how we're doing it in that moment so that we can get the proper help. Everything may not need medication. Sometimes it just needs a conversation. So, in your state of grieving, in your state of understanding and acknowledging the various disorders that are affected by it, we are at a place to say, you know what? Today, in this moment right now, I'm sad. I was having some thoughts. I was thinking about, the person that I love, and tears just began to fall down my face. I validate those feelings. Talk more about that. Get that off of you. Do we not know because of grief and various different mental health that we're facing, it causes more health problems? It causes more. So many people have hypertension because I'm going to keep this all inside. So many of us suffer and we bring on more health elements, that brings on diabetes. That brings on, as I said before, hypertension, high blood pressure, as we call it. It also brings on other forms of mental health because we feel like I can't verbalize what I really need to do. Some of us, we will overeat or we will not eat at all. Those are disorders as well. When we're talking about grief in these episodes and the future to come, we want you to understand I am a strong advocate of normalize Jesus in therapy. Normalize that it's okay for a grown man to say, I'm not feeling good today. And for him to take off his coat and be in a safe environment of even those around him. And he should not be penalized for saying that he's not happy today. I'm a strong advocate for a woman to say, listen, I am dealing with so many emotions right now. Because if we think about it, a lot of times people are saying it, but we're just not listening. So, a few things that I just want to touch base on, actually, just focusing on some coping strategies, some things that we can do. And as we begin to really dive deep more and more, I want us to just have real conversations in our household, real conversations with each person. So we talk about, how do you cope with death? How do we get over? You don't get over it. You have to process and we have to move forward, but you're never going to forget about the person that was in your life. You're never going to forget about that person that made a strong impact. When my father passed, I went through, like, I felt like an owl by myself. But when I saw how strong my mother was and how she was able to still persevere through with 4 children, my mother was a person that I saw that normalized Jesus and therapy. She put all of us in therapy. She allowed us to even have moments in the house where we weren't feeling the best, we weren't doing good, and we were able to vocalize those feelings to our mom. She didn't judge us, she didn't bash us. She wanted us to not have all of these problems because my mother worked in the healthcare field for years, so she understood and she saw how many people were affected by those things. And I appreciate my mom even to this day because that was one of the first things my mom said. It's going to be a journey, daughter, but you can do this. Because my mother was young. She was in her 30s and she had to raise 4 children by herself. And then what happened? The support system started to come. Did my mother have, we've heard my mother cry at nights by herself. She probably thought we wouldn't listen, but we heard her. But a scripture that my mother would say, and I take it to this day, she will always have us quote, well, probably just me because I was that kind of child, was Philippians 4:13. Because I would always run to my mother and I would tell her how hurt I was. And I told her I was angry with God when he took my father. And I would tell her, I said, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to do that. I can't do this. I can't. My mother hate the word I can't. And she was like, Jaquell, the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And I'll be looking at her like, don't nobody want to hear that right now? I'm venting, I'm upset, I'm mad, I want to cry. And she'll let you get all out. And then she'll say, but you can't say you can't. You can do this. You can do this. And she will say, it's impossible for you to do it by yourself. But with God's help, Jaquell, it's possible. When you go to your therapist, when you see Miss Seamson, because I'll tell y'all later about Miss Seamson, I love that lady. You talk to her about that and watch how she help you. You're not in this by yourself. And that's something that I want to tell you guys. You're not in this journey by yourself, even though it may seem like that. You're not in this battle by yourself. You're not facing this grieving journey by yourself. You are able to make it. And every day when you wake up, it's that unction of the fight still. Why? Because I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Your coping and your healing strategies. Once you recognize the grieving steps that you've dealt with, and you recognize recognize that I am a strong person of therapy, journaling, music. Um, some people believe in having physical, so they go to the gym. That's their outlet. Self care. There is nothing wrong with getting you a nice, good massage to releasing all of that tension out of your body. And sometimes you have to work yourself up to go there more than um, once. You know, some people do it once a month. Some people got to go once a week because they're so tense. It's okay. Therapy, there's so many forms of therapy, not just going to see a therapist, but as I stated, music. There's different ways of getting that energy and your frustration. Maybe you're sad today, so now you just want to write a poem. I wrote so many poems young once my father passed, because that was a way of me getting my feelings out. That was such a way for me to get it. Writing, singing. My family probably can tell you I was getting on everybody's nerves in the house, because almost every day I had a song to sing, because that was a connection of my father and I. He was a songwriter, he was an artist, and I was getting on everybody's nerves because I wanted to sing every day. But that was how I was trying to release my feelings in that moment. Sometimes you may be sitting in a car and you probably don't even want to listen to the normal genre of music. Maybe you want to turn on some classical. Maybe you want to turn on some smooth jazz, something out of the norm, so that you can just release yourself. Um, Getting some roles of support also will help you with your strategies and your healing and coping. Contacting family, contacting your friends. Okay. Getting a community of supporting groups. As you see your physician, let them know, like, is there any grieving supporting groups, anything for families? Is there anything that we can do that's going to help me better myself? What can I do? Right? Because now I'm verbalizing, I need help. I notice that you're not a bad person for saying I need help, right? Things have to be verbalized in order for you to receive or reciprocate what you're asking for. So anytime someone says, I need support in this, I said, well, what does this support look like that you need? Outside of this, I work with people in the homeless population. So a lot of them need to be housed. But what type of support do you need for that housing? What is it that you actually need in that moment? Sometimes I have to call people and say, you know what? I just need about an hour. Can you just come get my child? And it's not that he's being mischievous or anything. It's just that I just want to have some me time. Let me just decompress. And I might just want to drive to the lake and just watch the waves go by. And I don't want to be interrupted as a parent to understand, like, hey, mom. Just right now, I just want to be silent. I want to hear the waves. I want to hear the birds. I want to just be in a different environment to where I could just let it all out of my body. Most importantly, seeking professional help is needed. Seeking professional help. When I say normalize Jesus in therapy, I'm not condemning nobody for going to their pastors, for asking for help, for prayer, for any of that. That is nothing wrong. We have not because we ask not. But also seeking professional help for someone else that deals with this on a day-to-day basis. They are understanding, they're knowledgeable, they have degrees in this. We're constantly doing research to better the better community, to better our clients and our, and so forth, our patients. Seeking that professional help. And sometimes you may not have that right therapist, the first one that fits you. That's okay. I'm gonna go back to the drawing board. Maybe I need someone specific that deals with grieving for X, Y, and Z. Maybe I need something specific for my family. It may not work with the first therapist. It may not work with the first counselor. It may not work with the first psychotherapist. It may not work with the first psychiatrist. But I guarantee you, seeking support groups, seeking those helps in that area is going to give you so much relief. It's going to help you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I want to close with just something real quick. My husband and I were strong advocates for those that suffer from mental health. We always call ourselves, we speak for those that suffer in silence. And so that's why I've always been a strong person to advocate, educate, and empower. Because a lot of us don't know or understand. Grief is hard, but healing is possible. It's all about what you want to do. And I need you to know that even though you're going through this grieving journey, we need you. There is purpose still inside of you. Yes, the other person may no longer be here. Yes, I may have lost my job. Yes, I feel like when this person left, every single thing has been going around me, has been surrounding me, and I feel like I'm suffocating. I've been there. You feel like giving up. You feel like you want to let go. You feel like that there is no support. There is no hope. I don't want to bother this person. I don't want to bother that person because I feel like I'm bothering everyone. But I guarantee you, there's support. You're needed. You're wanted. There's a whole line of people waiting for you to do what you need to do so now you can pass the baton to them. But I can't let you stay in this shape that you're in. I can't let you stay in this rut. And my husband and I were strong advocates when it came to our youth. He was a senior manager at a all boys group home because he loved working with the youth. Yes, we did so many things with them, and it was just a joy to see them feel real love. In grief, sometimes you just need to know that someone loves you. Someone really do care about you. Yes, you're dealing with this, but you are loved. So I'm not going to cry, but I feel like my tears coming down. Every day is a journey. Every day you have to fight with yourself to get out of the bed. Every day you have to put your feet on the ground to let the enemy know that you're still here. Every day you have to go forward, even if it's just you making a step to get up and sitting up and looking at the floor. You did that, and you did it with courage. We're no longer going to hold guilt over ourselves of things that we cannot control. No longer will we sit here and be the baggage and the burden and feeling like it's a burden. No longer would you be drowning in sadness of sorrows when you have an opportunity to have joy. Most importantly, you will not kill yourself physically, mentally, emotionally anymore. You will not hold on to any of this weight. You are special, not only to me, but most importantly to God. And He loves you that much that He wants to remind you that you are special to Him. So today, we're going to hold our head up. We're going to let it all out. And we're going to take this one day at a time. So I look forward to seeing you on our next one. Join us next time as we're going to focus on different steps to help us process with this grieving. We're going to later have guests that's going to be transparent with their stories. We're going to bring on physicians. We're also going to bring on pastors. Why? We want to talk to pastors like, okay, so what happens after we tell the congregation to do X, Y, and Z? What are steps? What are we hoping? Are we transparent as leaderships to let them see what you went through? To the physicians, why do we always jump to have our people have medication? Could there be some things of just a conversation? Or do you medically see that, oh, they got to have medication right away? And most importantly, what can we do to start with our next generation? Those that are suffering in silence and don't know how to formulate those words. So as we get ready to leave, remember, I can do all things. Thanks for joining us.